Hi, welcome back. My name is Shirley Jackson, and I'm the Clever Artist. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Artistic Treasure. Uh, their address is 142 Cabarrus Avenue East in Concord, North Carolina, 28025. And their phone number is 704 782 5381. Again, their phone number is 704 782 5381. Here in our studio joining us has been Cindy Sipp, and she is a fabulous, fabulous person who does wonderful, wonderful quilts. The one thing about her designs is she does a lot of memory quilts or memory accessories for loved ones who had passed away. And unfortunately, from November and December, a lot of people will become depressed because they've lost a loved one. And it's a rough time when you don't have family around, you don't have loved ones around, and you're by yourself. And so what can make that very, very unique and very personal and actually help people through these times are different types of items and designs that are made from memories. And memories can be from clothing to personal items that they had. And one thing that you had done before we took our break was you were talking about a memory quilt that you made for your son, who is a Marine. But what you didn't bother to say, and I'm looking at you going, okay, you need to tell them this is not TV, this is radio. But what did you make? What is so special that makes that quilt a memory quilt?
This quilt is approximately 50 by 50, but it actually has his actual dress uniform. It's his brown dress uniform,
Marine uniform.
It actually has his tie, his medals. I've appliqued his face in with an applique. The green garrison, the flat hat that the Marines wear, the one that folds so nicely flat, that's actually on there. The pin on his hat, like it normally is on a Marine. All of his Marines, his patches, everything is there. The patches off of his uniforms when he was on the flight deck, they're in the corners. His dog tags, his first bars, they're all there. They're all in the, each one has a corner. He was a airframe mechanic, and so the background has a gray background, and I tried to make it look like the jet panels, the panels they would pull off to work on those jets. He was in two different units. He was in the VMFA 115 in Beaufort, South Carolina, and they were called the Silver Eagles. And he'd given me a coffee mug that had their design mascot, whatever.
Right.
I'm sorry if I don't have the right word, but I literally had taken
Logo or whatever.
Yes, I'd taken that eagle and traced it off, and then I blew it up, and it was kind of like an American flag over it. And then when he wasn't deployed with the 115, he went to the 215 unit, and so I embroidered the 251, excuse me, and on the other corner, so it was like the number of the jet. And so each quilt, and then his dark green uniform pants are the binding of that quilt. And so every aspect, down to the mole on his face and the blue eyes, I literally stitched blue lines in around his eyes, and I took colored pencils and colored in his hair. I tried to put every detail in there, and when I was almost done, I says, well, geez, I could have did a photo transfer. I'm like, that would have been a whole lot easier. So I kind of enlarged a picture of his face and put it up there. I said, oh, no. Can't put that there. It was too lifelike then. And so I'm like, it's perfect just the way it is. And so this one hangs in my hallway. And every now and then when I have special events, he comes with me. and he's still with Mom.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, it's what I love about this is this I mean every single detail. I mean down to, like you said, his pants. And you had mentioned before that you even went to his unit and asked what was his best friend
Yes.
to actually pin the because when it comes to the military, they're kind of picky
Oh,
about
absolutely.
how you put,
You don't want a centimeter off,
or it's not only in the wrong spot, but I know my husband, when he retired, he has all these medals and little things, and they're all different colors and what have you.
And they got to be in the right row.
Oh, they got to be in the right row. And I remember one time I tried to help him, and he looked at it and he goes, "Oh, that's totally wrong." And I went, "Does it matter?" And he goes, "Oh, yes, it really, really matters."
Yes.
I went, "Okay." So it shows you how much I know, right? But you not only did this because of your son, but losing your son, but you were telling me that you also had a young lady whose mother had passed away, and that you created something very unique for her.
Yes, this year, I would say early spring, she had come to me, and somebody had referred her, another customer, not that for a memory quilt, but the other customer was very happy with the work, and she'd said, I showed her this piece, and she says, "Oh, you must go see Cindy." And so she brings Mom's clothes, and we sat down and we had a consultation. She showed me things, and I'm like, okay. And I'm like, well, this will work. I don't know if I can use this. I'll set this aside, things on that line.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, this woman she had been married after her mom had passed.
Mm-hmm.
Mom had passed with cancer, I believe, 4 months before this woman was to be married. And one of the dresses that she cherished the most was her mom's Mother of the Bride dress. And it was this beautiful light mauve pink, and it had ruffles on the front, and it was kind of form-fitting, and it's like, how can I use this piece? And I said, well, I might be able to make a heart pillow. I'm not sure. Let my creative juices get flowing. She goes, I said, honey, I hope you're feeling comfortable. And she goes, I totally trust you. I'm without a doubt. And so,
and speaking of that, it's actually really important when people trust you enough to actually not just trust you with the items, but trust your creativity, because they may have something that's in their mind they think will work, but you working with fabric know whether or not that is going to work or not.
Absolutely.
It's like a haircut. Like I walk in, I go, "Oh, I love that haircut." Well, it's for somebody that has really fine, thin hair, and my hair is very thick, and I guarantee it's not going to work. So it's the same process, really.
Absolutely. And the amazing thing is I started working with this woman's items, and by now, when she came to me, she was now pregnant, and she was maybe 3 or 4 months out from the baby being delivered. And I said, I kept feeling this silky material, and I says, let me ask you a question. I said, and the husband was with her, and I said, were either of you, as a baby, one of those kids that had to have one of those silky tags to rub your fingers on? Because I had a niece like that, and if the stuffed animal didn't have that silky tag, she'd throw it and she'd find one that did.
Oh.
And it was so funny. The husband's like, oh, it's funny you asked. He says, I was. I says, there's a chance that baby might have the same thing. I says, not a problem. And so I had noticed in Mom's tags, in the back of her clothing, she had some of those silky tags. So I saved them.
Oh, how wonderful.
I saved them because in my mind, I had already started creating a small little receiving blanket or something, the little blankets the kids like to drag around, just their little safety blanket. And I was going to sew those tags into that just in case. And so, so I ended up creating a nice lap quilt for the daughter, and I made one very small, on a smaller, more miniature version for the new baby. And so I used this beautiful dress on the back, and I was able to quilt that in, but I kept looking at this top roughly bodice. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to use it. I had a beautiful zipper in the back, and I kept looking, and it was just the right size for a pillow. I said, I can't cut that in to make it a heart. I'm like, but she trusts me enough to allow me to do my creative thing. So it was kind of a sleeveless thing, so I sewed up her sleeves, and I sewed the neckline up, and then I created a muslin pillow for the inside. And I kind of made it so it fit the whole bodice and the shoulders and everything. And what I did is, out of all the remnants, because I save every little scrap, I put it in that bag. I put it in there.
Oh, how wonderful.
And as I'm working with it, sometimes Mom or whoever passes will give me a message. And I don't know what it means, but I write it down. And I just pass it on. If it means something, great. Here it is. If not, I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I've done my part. Mm-hmm. And so anyways, what I did is I made this beautiful, and it was just, and when she came, it was the last item I pulled out to show her, and she's like, I said, when you need a hug from Mom, and I said, you just grab a hold of this and just squeeze it. Mom's hugging you.
Aww.
And all of her clothes were still in there, because there might be a scent on those clothes that's just enough that gives her that comfort.
Right, to remind her of Mom. And you said, now you did something special with the buttons. What was that?
Oh, this woman, she had some really beautiful clothing. It had some buttons on it. And every time I do a memory quilt and I'm using anything like that, I save the buttons, because you don't know when you're going to use them. And so I saved them all in a little jar, and I was at the store, and I found this photo frame. It was a black photo frame, and it said Mom on it.
Oh.
And it just kind of said, buy me. And so I buy it.
Here I am. Buy me.
And I hot glued the buttons on in an arrangement. And so I said, this is for the baby's room. I think you need to put a picture of Grandma in there. So when you're in there working and taking care of that child, Mom's still with you. Right. Mom's still watching over that grandchild.
Oh, how wonderful. And also, too, is that because Grandma can't be there, but that picture is there, and Mom can introduce, as the child's growing up, this is your grandmother. This is how special she was to me. So that incorporates every single, little thing that you can think of. And that's what I like, is the detail. You were talking about making something from a gentleman who he had passed away. He was a mechanic. And you had called his wife and said, was he right-handed?
Yes, she was kind of, she's like, how did you know? And I said, Sherry, every pair of his jeans, except for a couple new pairs, had the right knee blown out. It was like he was working, had his knee down, working and wrenching on something.
Right.
And so when I'm commissioned to do a job like this, I take those details very personally.
Well, it's something, because, I've lost loved ones in the past. I think a majority of people have. When that happens, you forget. You really do. You can't remember everything, so you have a tendency to forget the little tiny details that actually later on become very important to you. So for you to actually look at his clothing and say, hey, I bet he was right-handed, and his wife said, not only how did you know, but you incorporated that into what you designed for her. So that meant that it wasn't just unique, one of a kind, but it reminded her just, not only he was right-handed, but things he may have done, right, or built or designed or created himself. And that there is priceless. No amount of money, seriously, can make up for those details. And I think that's why, I mean, I love details in my wire wrapping, but when it comes to these lovely quilts and runners and things that you make, it's not just the fabric, but I know a lot of times when I run my hands over them and I take a look at some of the detail that you have in them, you're stitching here, in some of these items is like different designs itself. And I know you talked about that you have a few of them that you're actually going to have patent because it's designs that you created that nobody else does.
Well,
Or did I misunderstand that part?
Kinda.
I did.
Kinda. I'm working on a couple of patterns that I'm creating. I've created a huge ribbon, so you can do it for a breast cancer. I've done one as a fundraiser for suicide prevention awareness.
Okay.
We've done some for the military veterans quilts that we donate to. So that ribbon is just a standard symbol. If it's ovarian cancer,
Right.
breast cancer, and so I'm working on the details of writing that pattern. And once I get that pattern finished, I'll copyright it. And I will put it out for sale, and it will be out on the web. So some ladies, if they see it, they can buy it instantly,
Awesome.
pay for it, download it, and start to create it.
That'd be fabulous. Now I know you personally, you do a lot of things that have to do with veterans and the military because that's also dear to your heart.
Yes.
But you also do things for the battered women and children's shelters.
Yes. I'm currently the president of the Salisbury Starry Night Quilters Guild. And for the last 3 years, we have given quilts to our veterans. For the last 2 years, it was to the Veterans Hospital. Well, when we went to deliver them and hand deliver them to those veterans in the hospital, some of them didn't even know that they were receiving a quilt.
Oh.
And so this year, our guild is like, okay, how can we, because it takes time to make these, and,
Right.
and us,
It's not like it takes 5 minutes to
absolutely, and the women in our group, we put our heart and soul into it, and we appreciate all that the veterans have done. And so another girl in our guild has found a way that now we are giving quilts to our veterans that are serving veterans. And so, like the veterans that are on the color guard or out taking other veterans to their medical appointments or making sure they're okay, they're still alive and full of vibrant and they appreciate it. And
Right.
so, and we know that, they're going to be cherished for years to come. And so, matter of fact, next Thursday at our Quilt Guild, we're going to be giving 12 quilts away. We're actually having the veterans come to our meeting, and the artist or the quilter that made that will actually present it to that veteran.
Oh, how wonderful. Oh, don't forget to take lots of pictures now.
Okay, I'll put that on Facebook.
Yeah, there you
You're
go.
gonna help me,
It's
Shirley.
going to have to go on
You're
your
gonna have
face.
to help me, but okay.
I'm going to train you. You need
Thank
to get your
you.
stuff on
Thank you.
Facebook.
And then, and we're also doing quilts for our local Rowan County Women's Battered Shelter. And recently, they were able to have upgraded beds. So you have like bunk beds that are, one's a bunk and one's a truddle.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're going to need about 24 quilts to cover those beds.
Oh.
And so currently, I've got 3 ready to go for this Thursday, coming Thursday.
Now, there are a lot of people who do quilts. I mean, who actually makes quilts. So if anyone wants to donate for this cause, tell them how they can reach you.
Well, they can either call me personally at 716-490-1654. Again, 490-1654. Or they could actually call the Rufty Senior Center in Salisbury. And I'm sorry, I don't have that number. That one you'll have to look that one up. I don't have that number on with me. And but even if they want to make a monetary donation, because that helps with some of the supplies.
Right.
A lot of times.
Yeah, the materials aren't free.
Yes. A lot of times, one or two of us girls will make a quilt and we'll sell it at a market somewhere, and we'll take that money and buy supplies. Okay. Last year, I actually had a Marine group donate money for the batting.
Oh, how wonderful!
Because
right,
fabric is expensive.
Yes,
and we use the quality stuff. We don't use
the cheap stuff that's going to unravel and fall apart at the first time you wash it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then everything's pretty much donated.
Okay. All right.
So.
And of course, your Facebook page, Center of Creation, that you're going to do more on.
Absolutely.
You can reach her there as well. And but seriously, if they want to donate either monetary or even quilts or anything along those lines, and this goes to the Battered Women and Children Shelter, and also our vets.
Right. Our veterans, we try and make those that are red, white, and blue.
Oh, how wonderful.
They have a color theme. The women's shelter, even if they're small lap quilts, because sometimes the women come in and they only stay for a little while. But if there's small children, they all get a small baby lap size quilt to take with them, just because sometimes they just need that extra comfort.
Right, they need that extra comfort and something to hang on to, something that's not going to be taken away from them.
Absolutely.
So, but what we want to do is make sure, if you can't reach Cindy, get a hold of Artistic Treasures. Get a hold of me, and the phone number is 704-782-5381. Again, that's 704-782-5381. Make sure you contact me, Shirley Jackson, and I am the Clever Artist, but reach me at Artistic Treasures at 142 Cabarrus Ave East, and that's Concord, North Carolina, 28025. And thank you so much, Cindy, for joining me. It's been a very, very good pleasure, and I've learned a lot, believe it or not.
Well, thank you, Shirley. Thank you.
And I hope that you can be a guest at another time. And also, God bless our veterans.
Absolutely. God bless them.
And what we'll do from here is make sure that everyone contacts you or contacts me personally. And at this point, we would also like to say that get involved in your community. Find a way to give back, to the veterans, the Battered Women Shelter, the homeless. There are many, many programs where you can give back. You can do your time. It can be monetary. It can be physical items, blankets, coats. A lot of the homeless in the area very much need quilts. There are so many different organizations where you can give back. And remember, when you give something, do not expect something in return. When you give from your heart. We'd like to thank you for joining us and say God bless you. And we want to say God bless, and we support all of our military. Thank you so much.